Hello everybody and welcome to this 5-week module on mental wellbeing for researchers and more specifically for HDR students and early career researchers. My name is Areana Eivers and I'm going to be your moderator for the 5 weeks of this module, and my job is not just to facilitate your progress through the material but also to be here to address any questions or concerns that might arise as you're moving through the course. The module is built around 3 key stages, I guess. In the first stage, and particularly in week 1, what we're really interested in is bringing you some knowledge and a deeper understanding about what mental wellbeing is and what it isn't, and looking at the ways in which how we think, what we do, and the situations and environments that we find ourselves in can have a significant impact on our mental health and wellbeing. Now, the research evidence shows us that HDR students are particularly vulnerable to mental stress and distress, which is the very reason that we developed this module for you all. So in weeks 2, 3 and 4, we're going to dive a little bit deeper and focus on HDR student experience in particular, to have a look at what it is in particular about HDR students and about the environments that they find themselves in that makes them a bit more vulnerable to poor mental wellbeing, and also hopefully give you some practical skills and strategies that you can use to monitor and maintain your mental wellbeing both now and in the future. In week 5, we broaden out the lens a little bit again as we get ready to launch you into the world after the module. So there we're going to be looking at some information and resources that you can access to help you make some long-term plans about how to protect your mental wellbeing, and how you might go about intervening early to stop small problems from becoming big problems, to stop a bad day or a bad week from turning into something worse. There is also some ideas, though, if things do get worse, about where you might be able to go to seek some help and support. Importantly, we don't expect that at the end of this module, you are going to feel happy and satisfied with your life all of the time, because those are unrealistic expectations and, quite frankly, unattainable. But we are hoping that you will walk away with some extra tools in your toolkit in the form of information, skills and strategies that will help you to protect your mental wellbeing as you go through this experience of being an HDR student, but also into your future careers and your future lives well beyond the few years that you spend in a higher degree of research. I find when I'm doing any professional development activities that it's really helpful to know a little bit about the person who's sitting or standing in front of me, or in this case, the person on the video screen. So I thought I might round up this welcome video with just a little bit of information and background about myself, so that you might have an understanding about why I'm so passionate about wellbeing and about HDR students in particular, and why I'm really excited to be going on this journey with you. So I am a clinical psychologist, and for 25 years I've worked in a variety of settings, in government, mental health and community health settings, as well as non-government organisations and in private practice. And through those many years of experience, I've seen a variety of people in a variety of settings. And something that struck me is that there are many ways in which people are different from one another, have very different experiences, but there are also some important similarities in the way people experience stress and distress and the impacts that those have on their well-being, both in the short and long term. And I'm hoping to be able to bring that knowledge and that experience to bear in this module as I help you to work through it. Also, for 25 years, I have worked in various capacities in no fewer than 7 universities, both in Australia and overseas. And part of my role has been, particularly in the past 10 to 15 years, to supervise and mentor HDR students. So this means that I've also become very familiar with the very different ways that universities work, but also importantly about the similarities across universities and even across countries in terms of the HDR experience and the kinds of stresses and challenges that HDR students face all over the world. Probably even more than my work experience, though, the experience that I bring to bear to this module is that of having been a PhD student myself, not just once, but twice. And no, that's not because I have 2 PhDs. I embarked initially on a PhD many, many years ago, which I ended up making the very, very difficult decision to withdraw from. And then, despite swearing that I never wanted to do a PhD ever again, I did actually unexpectedly find myself doing a PhD and doing it in a foreign country where English was the second language. So I was an international student at that time, and at that time I was the only international student in my particular department of psychology. So they didn't really know what to do with me at that time. So both of those experiences ended up in very different outcomes, and both of them were challenging in different ways. And I'm hoping that I might be able to share a little bit of those experiences with you as we kind of move through together, and I get an opportunity to share a little bit more about myself. But when I reflect on both of them, the thing that made the biggest difference between the first experience where I did not manage to complete the PhD and the second one where I did, even though there were some quite challenging aspects to both of those, the thing that made the difference was how I looked after my mental well-being. The first time I really did not reach out for support. I was frightened to say that I needed help or to access resources that were there because I was fearful of how that might reflect on me. The second time, I was much more willing to seek out professional support and ask for what I need, and also to look after myself and to take breaks when I needed to. So that way in which I took care of my mental well-being differently the second time around from the first time around, when I reflect on it, really made a big difference, not only to the experience, but I would say even to the fact that I was able to finish one PhD, whereas I didn't feel able to finish the first one. So that's a little bit about me. I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more about you and to sharing this experience with you. And I will be back in week 1 to start the journey with you. So I'll see you then. Bye for now.